From Ritual to Romance. Chapter 11, From the Secrets of the Grail to the Naassene document. And let's see if we can conclude this chapter. Thus we have not only the central theme of the lad reared in woodland solitude, making his entrance into a world whose ordinary relations he is absolutely and ludicrously ignorant, and the traditional illustrations of the results of that ignorance, such as the story of the Lady of the Tent and the stolen ring, but we have also the sinister figure of the Red Knight with his witch mother, the 3 drops of blood upon the snow, and the ensuing love trance, pure folk-tale themes, mingled with the more chivalric elements of the rescue of a distressed maiden, and the vanquishing in a single combat of a doughty antagonist, Geant or Saracen. One and all of them, elements offering widespread popular parallels, and inviting to the unwary critic into paths which lead him far astray from the goal of his quest, the Grail Castle. I dispute in no way the possible presence of the Celtic elements in this complex. The lance may well have borrowed, at one time, features from early Irish tradition, at another, details obviously closely related to the Longinus legend. It is even possible that, as Braddock insists, features of the Byzantine liturgy may have colored the representations of the Grail procession. Although, for my own part, I consider such a theory highly improbable in view of the facts that Chrétien's poem otherwise shows no traces of Oriental influence. The spear of the Eastern Rite is simply a small spear-shaped knife. The presence of the lights is accounted for by the author of Sonne de Naassene on the ground of a nativity legend, the authenticity of which was pointed out by the late M. Gaston Paris. It is only in the latter prose form that we find any suggestion of a Grail chapel. Were the source of the story really to be found in the Mass, such a feature would certainly have laid its place in its earliest versions, but in each and all these cases, the solution proposed has no relation to other features of the story. It is consequently of value in and per se only, and cannot be regarded as valid evidence for the source of the legend as a whole. In the process of transmutation from ritual to romance, the kernel of the Grail legend proper may be said to have formed, for itself, a shell composed of accretions of widely differing provenance. It is the legitimate task of criticism to analyze such accretions and to resolve them into their original elements, but they are accretions and should be treated as such, and not confounded with the original and essential material. After upwards of 30 years spent in careful study of the Grail legend and romances, I am firmly and entirely convinced that the root origin of the whole bewildering complex is to be found in the vegetation ritual, treated from the esoteric point of view as a life cult, and in that alone, Christian legend and traditional folktale have undoubtedly contributed to the perfected romance corpus, but they are in truth subsidiary and secondary features of a criticism that would treat them as original and primary can defeat its own subject, magnified out of proportion as they become stumbling blocks upon the path instead of signposts towards the goal. So the whole giant or Saracen thing is that they have proposed the old enemies or the old challenges as just merely of different faiths. But nature should be what we're getting back to. But we have